Does going bald make you ugly? That is a great question. Does going bald make you ugly? I just want to start out by talking about Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil, all right? A very successful man, a very wealthy man, a very intelligent man. Now, he's also a very bald man. And for pretty much all of his adult life, he's been a very noticeably balding man. But my question is, does that make him ugly? Does it make him less desirable? I think what we have to do is we have to differentiate between ugly and not desirable, okay? Because I think especially for today's teenagers and guys in their early 20s, and you love it when I do this, so I'm gonna keep doing it because you love it. Because if you're a teenager, or even in your early 20s, this is what you're up against. As long as you're plugging into this phony system, this is what you are. This is how pathetic you look. That's pathetic. What is that? What is that when you're doing all this? You're saying, world, please like me. Please think that I'm cool, that I'm handsome, and that I'll look good. Please, please, I beg you to see me. Please see me. Please notice me. I'm competing with all of you doing the same stuff. Please notice me. And of course, as men, as myself know, the more that you desire to be noticed, the more invisible you are to the world. If everybody's doing it, you're not special. What? Yeah. That's exactly what happens. So, as long as you're competing in the game of, okay, I gotta look cool, I gotta be buff enough, I've gotta have the right hair, as long as you're plugging into that game, you are a loser. You lose. You cannot win that game. You cannot win the game of trying to stand out by being like everybody else. Do you think Dr. Phil really cares about the fact that he's so noticeably bald? Do you think that he cares? Nah. He has a lot of things that a lot of people wish they had. A lot of things that a lot of men wish they could have in certain levels, you know? And yet he's so bald. But do you think that people, when they talk about Dr. Phil, do you think that they say, man, he's successful, he's smart, he's rich, but he's ugly? I've never heard anybody say that about Dr. Phil. Despite being how bald he is, I've never heard anybody describe Dr. Phil that way. They may say, man, he's smart. Man, he knows what he's talking about. You know, I like his show. And I think using him as an example shows us that when it really comes down to it, we're not really judging other men by how much hair they have. Sure, we'll notice that they're bald, but we're not actually judging them on that. We're judging them on a panel of other things. I want to share this story with you. If you've watched every video I've ever made, which you haven't, then you'll remember I made a video talking about one time, this was I don't know, 12 years ago. There was this girl that I knew a couple years older than me. She was undeniably a beautiful girl, always was. But she also was very confident in herself. And she wasn't caught up in all the superficial stuff. Now granted, she graduated high school in the 90s, so she couldn't relate to this. Hashtag blessed or hashtag no filter. She already graduated high school before all that garbage, okay? She was undeniably a beautiful girl. But she seemed very secure in her identity. She wasn't begging to be noticed. She wasn't begging for confirmation from the world on Facebook, am I pretty? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of all? She didn't ask that. So when it came time in her early 20s, you know, she could date any guy she wanted to, okay? But in her early 20s, she met this man. And let me describe him for you. He's kind of a big guy. I'm 5'9", so he'd be off the camera. He'd be a little over 6 feet. Redheaded guy, like a reddish brown hair guy. From what I remember, he was noticeably losing his hair. I want to say like a strong Norwood 3. He was a couple years older than her, so I don't know, maybe he was in his late 20s by that point. And he had like this goatee. No one would think of this guy as an attractive guy. Like, as far as like, oh yeah, he's a good looking guy. In fact, this is a story that was passed down that I overheard. This girl, when she met this guy, she told her mother and her grandmother this. You know, this guy, he's unlike anybody I've ever met. He is so kind and caring. And then she went on to say, he may not be the best looking guy, but I have never met someone like that man. So even, yeah, people notice that you go bald, but they don't notice it compared to all the other stuff. So I know it's easy and natural if you're young and balding to think that this is the end of the world, that people will not see you as the good-looking Brad Pitt guy that you want to look like, whoever I'm supposed to say in that. I don't know. Brad Pitt's in his 50s by now. I'm supposed to say somebody young. Who's attractive in a male? I don't care. Anyway, it's just interesting that as long as you're trying to matter to the world as far as being a good-looking guy, as long as you're trying to be seen as a good-looking guy, instead of just a handsome, kind, caring, cool, confident guy, you lose. You lose. And that's why I have a successful YouTube channel that helps guys with this. I don't need hair to be a confident guy, just like the girl in that story. She was beautiful, but she wasn't seeking confirmation from everybody. And I think that's one of the fundamental issues about all this. As long as you keep trying to be noticed by the world, you only become that much more invisible to the world. The world's not looking for more attractive people. The world is looking for better people? People who are real? I feel like I'm a pretty real guy. I'm laying it to you straight. I'm telling you stuff that you're not going to see in social media or on TV or shows or movies. I'm being real with you. This is the real world. And what I'm telling you is actually very positive and full of hope and full of truth. But first you have to unplug. You have to unplug from this silly system on social media of competing in some kind of male beauty contest. Man, this is so unreal. This is not real life. This is not real life. I'm real life. Plug into real life like me. This is fake.